If you're on food stamps right now in 2026, you really need to hear this message, as they're projecting 1 million plus people per month are going to be impacted in a huge way due to the new rules that have gone into effect back at the beginning of the year. Now, obviously, the beginning of the year was a little while ago now, but we're still very early on in 2026, and these individuals are being impacted in a huge, huge way. And I want to point out the details for you in this short video and talk about what we need to understand, as a lot of these individuals that are being impacted are, seniors. Exactly, right? Now, obviously not exclusively seniors, but a lot of them are, and I want to point out the details. Now, I also do have this article right here, which I will pop up on the screen in just a second so you can see and read for yourself exactly what they're talking about. This highlights it pretty well, and I'll explain what you need to know, because I think we all recognize this year, 2026, as well as over the last, call it 2 or 3 months or so, the SNAP program, food stamp program, supplemental nutrition assistance program, some people refer to it as EBT program, obviously that's your card where benefits are deposited, has been under a microscope over the last couple months, and they are doing all kinds of major changes, and they are going through this program very carefully and extracting a lot of people and implementing a lot of new rules, and it's getting a lot harder for the average beneficiary out there. All right, anyway, so remember, I've talked about this at the end of 2025. I talked about this a few times, but let me point out some of the rules that have gone into effect and how this is impacting people, especially recently in 2026, as we start to see the economy slowing more significantly, people losing jobs. That's not what this video is all about, but it actually translates into the food stamp program SNAP benefits. Let's pop this article up right here, right now. Feel free to read through the details of this. I'll point out some of the key details on this that I want you to know. Remember, they raised the age range for those people that need to fulfill the work requirement, for those people that are ABAWD. Now, again, I've talked about this many times before in other videos. ABAWD stands for able-bodied adult without dependent, okay? Able-bodied adult without dependent. In other words, what that means is somebody without a disability that is between the age ranges of 18 and 64 and who does not have a minor dependent. That's what that means, okay? Able-bodied adult without dependent. Anyway, these individuals, which, again, they raised the age range on this, but anyway, these individuals now need to fulfill 20 hours of work, volunteering, skill training, or education training, 20 hours per week, 80 hours per month on average. And guess what else? They need to supply on a monthly basis records of their work, volunteer, skill training, or education training to remain within the food stamp program without getting booted from the program, okay? So every single month, these individuals need to submit basically their 20-hour per week, 80-hour per month contributions to make sure that they're still getting their food stamp benefit, okay? That's just that. Now, also, as I mentioned, for the people that are able-bodied between the ages of 18 and 64, again, this is the work requirement that they would have to fulfill. Now, one thing that I want to point out really quickly, I get questions on this all the time. Hey, I'm 62 with a disability. I'm 64 with a disability. I'm 65, I'm 67, I'm 68 with a disability. I'm 42 with a disability. I'm 35, I'm 21, I'm whatever, 56 with a disability. Do I need to do this? Okay? And again, fill in the blank with whatever age you want. It doesn't matter. If you have a disability, you do not need to fulfill the work requirement, as you are exempt as somebody with a disability. Feel free to talk to your local office on this, but anyway, anybody with a disability is exempt because, okay, I'm just going to say this, not a fancy way to say this, not sure how else to say it, but somebody that has a disability is not considered able-bodied, okay? That's just, I know it sounds like weird, like, oh, that sounds really rude. Sorry, I'm not sure how else to say that in a way that, like, makes it less harsh sounding, but that's the reality, okay? So, like, for once, having a disability is, like, maybe a little bit beneficial in this instance, okay? And again, I'm just kind of giving you the details here and the facts around this, okay? Anyway, so that's people that are able-bodied, again, between 18 and 64, need to fulfill the work requirements, and if you don't fulfill the work requirements, then the restrictions say you can get food stamps for three months out of every 3-year period of time. So basically, you lose your benefits and you can't get them for basically every 3 years. That's nasty. Okay, that's that. However, the definition of a dependent has also changed in a major way, which is this. And again, I'll come back to that whole work part of this that I alluded to at the beginning of the video. I'll come back to that here in just a minute. But again, I know that many of you may not care about that, but I'll talk about it here in just a minute. All right, let's talk about the dependents really quickly. Dependent, remember, anybody under the age of 18 previously, so 17 and under, was previously considered a dependent. That's not considered a dependent anymore. Even though they're, technically still a minor, they're not an adult yet until 18. But by SNAP rules, by food stamp rules, in order to get your benefits deposited onto your EBT, you need to fall within these parameters. So with the new rules here, they do not consider somebody who's 17 or under a dependent, but rather the new definition of a dependent is 13 and under. 13 and under is now considered a dependent. 14 and above with the new SNAP rules, the new food stamp rules, are no longer dependent. So 14 and above is no longer dependent by their rules, I should say. Okay, so I want to make that very clear, even though they very much are dependent, but with SNAP rules, they're not considered a dependent anymore. But 13 and under is still considered a dependent, which would make somebody exempt from the work requirement if they are somebody who is able-bodied and they have a dependent who is, say, 13 or under, okay? So just want you to be very clear about that. Okay, now, at the beginning of the video, I said this is impacting people in a pretty major way right now with the slowdown of the overall economy and how people are basically losing benefits. And as you can see in the article, by the way, you saw right here in this article, it highlighted 800,000 people is what they're suspecting that are going to be losing benefits on a monthly basis, a lot of which are seniors, because they're not fulfilling the work requirement. Again, that's a nasty situation, right? But anyway, okay, so what do I mean by this and the whole work situation and the economy slowing? As the economy is slowing down, what are we seeing? We're seeing a lot of people losing their jobs. When people are losing their jobs, especially somebody that is on the food stamp program, the SNAP program, they're losing their jobs, and all of a sudden they can't fulfill the 20-hour per week work requirement. Then guess what happens? Because of no fault of their own, if they get laid off from their job, their employer cuts their position or whatever it happens to be because of financial struggles for the business and they have to let people go. Now the beneficiary is also possibly struggling because they're not fulfilling the 20-hour per week requirement, which allows them to continue to get their food stamp or their SNAP benefit. Does that make sense, right? So not only is it hurting the beneficiary, but I mean, it's, we're seeing this across the entire economy. And that's what we're seeing right now is that there's a lot of people that are getting hurt by this because of no fault of their own. They're doing what they got to do. They're fulfilling the 20 hours per week, but yet they get laid off from their position, their job, and all of a sudden they may lose their SNAP benefit as well, because when they go to report on a monthly basis, hey, I worked my hours this week, my 20 hours per week, my 80 hours per month, they can't prove that anymore because they've been laid off from their job. Does that make sense? Right? So it's a nasty situation that's coming out. So anyway, let me point this out really quickly because this is a common question that I get quite a bit, which is this. Hey, I'm 65, I'm 67, I'm 72, I'm whatever age, it doesn't matter, but 65 or above. Do I need to do something here? The answer is no. If you're 65 or above, you don't have to do anything here whatsoever. Reason for that is your age makes you exempt, okay? Because the age goes from 18 through 64, 65 and above is exempt, okay? I get that question often enough down below, which is, whether you're able-bodied, whether you have a disability, whether you have a dependent or not, it does not matter. 65 and above is exempt simply due to your age. Okay, remember, 18 through 64, 65 and above is exempt. Don't worry about it. If you're 65 above, don't worry about any of this stuff, okay? If you're between the ages of 18 and 64, if you have a disability, again, you can check with your local office, but you're exempt because of your disability. You're not considered able-bodied. Okay, that makes sense? Anyway, just want to point this out for you really quickly. This is a nasty situation. There's a lot of people, and again, as you can see from that article, they're projecting 800,000 people a month that are basically not eligible to receive these benefits. It's a lot of people, nearly 1 million people, and that number is just going to continue to get bigger and bigger, unfortunately. Anyway, I hope this helps you. Again, I just want to do what I can to help you out here in this community. And again, as always, if you happen to be one of the 70 million people on Medicare, again, If you need help with your Medicare, if you have questions on Medicare, if you want help finding the right Medicare coverages for you and your personal needs, call Chapter There. They've already helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people in this community. In fact, they've helped those of you in this community collectively save, by calling that phone number right there, $2 million plus. Hundreds of you in this community have already called that phone number so far this year alone. Just this year alone, 2026, we're still very early on in the year. Hundreds of you have already called that number, and a lot of you, dozens and dozens and dozens of you, getting better plans, saving a boatload of money, all kinds of things like that. Anyway, I always like to show these pages here of the comments that I've been getting over the last couple months here. And again, I have more pages than this, but this is just some of the comments I've received over the last couple months here, page after page after page of comment. People reaching out saying, got a better plan, saved a bunch of money, they were extremely helpful, saved all this kind of money, whatever it happens to be. The average person is saving over $1,000 by calling Chapter There. So anyway, if you're on Medicare, give them a call. I think you might be shocked with your flexibility and optionality. Call them Monday through Saturday during regular business hours. Monday through Saturday, regular business hours. You should be able to talk to somebody quickly. In just a matter of time, they can look through all the plans out there and see what they can do for you. I think you'll be shocked. If you're on Medicare, call them again Monday through Saturday. They're available to help you out. Anyway, enjoy your day. Please subscribe if you're new here. Please share the video. Big share button down below. Subscribe button down below. Otherwise, until next time, let me know what I can do for you. Drop your comments down below. Have a good one, and I'll catch you later.